And welcome to another installment of the Grand Slam Wrestling Match of the Week. I'm Big Paulie coming to you. Tonight we are virtually in Rock Hill, South Carolina, just a little ways south of Charlotte on Interstate 77. And tonight's match, the bad news, we have Farmer Burns again as the World Heavyweight Champion making his title defense. But I know the good news will be we will not have him next week. We'll have a World Tag Team title defense for you next week on the Match of the Week. This is the Gold Rush card. I am going to only be doing Gold Rush cards after next week, once every quarter. For those of you following this on the Delphi board, we're just going to do them on special occasions and just focus on the house shows in the North, East, South, and West circuits. We'll go through the undercard of the card in Rock Hill. The Atomic Pair, who just came over from the West Circuit via the trade lottery. Each week I pick four names from the singles ranks, and every fourth week I pick tag teams, and we move them around. The North makes a pick, and if it's somebody that's already in the North Circuit, they keep it, let's say. Just using the North Circuit as an example, but if they pick anybody else's, then they acquire that person. And it could be anybody who is not a champion. So the Atomic Pair was picked up. That's Gory Guerrero and El Santo, and they beat the Powers of Pain by pin in 21 minutes and 29 seconds. They have a contender grade of 1, and that bumps them up to a contender grade of 3. I use two systems to rate everybody. I use a contender grade, which is basically a rungs up the ladder system. Everybody starts at 1. If you win by pin or submission, you gain 2 rungs on the ladder, unless you beat a somebody that's way higher on the ladder than you, then you could pick up as many as 5 spots. If you win by technical means, like by on cuts, which can happen in wrestling's finest, or by countout, or by DQ, it's 1 rung up. And the maximum for a non-champion is 10. If you're a regional circuit champion, it's 11. And if you're one of the world champions, the world champion or the junior heavyweight champion, you're a 12. And the world tag team champions are 12s too. And those are the only ones that can be a 12. I also use ratings number system, which means the highest number is a 1, and you go way down for the lowest numbers. And every time somebody lower beats somebody higher, the two change positions. So the Atomic Pair moved up 18 ratings number spots, and they picked up 2 on the contender grade ladder. Ernie Ladd and The Undertaker saw some action on the undercard. They went to a double DQ. The Undertaker, widely approved by the audience. He's a fan favorite, but both wound up abusing the referee, and the referee finally saw enough. They didn't want to get killed, so he waved the bout off. Randy Macho Man Savage, nice babyface, facing Terry Funk in an interesting match. And Terry gets a little too crazy, and the Macho Man wins at 14:25 on a DQ. Lou Fez and Freddie Blassie met. Lou Fez was supposed to meet Gene Anderson, but Gene Anderson got called into the World Tag Team title battle royal, and we'll get into that in a second. So Freddie Blassie, classy Freddie Blassie, jumped in, and Terry Funk interfered in the bout at 5:55, giving Lou Fez the win. Then we had a 16-team battle royal to determine the new World Tag Team Champions. In the Western Circuit the previous week, the Scots were defending, and they were injured by Don Kernodle and Sergeant Slaughter. So we had to have a 16-team battle royal to determine the new champs, and the America's team, Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA, wound up winning it. They were one of the last few teams to make the cut, and they wound up winning the battle royal, and they will be the new World Tag Team Champions. They beat the Road Warriors, who are now a babyface team out west. And Road Warriors gave them a nice round of applause. Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA. Dusty and Magnum win their first tag belts, and Dusty is one of the few people in GSW that has been a singles champion and now a tag team champion. Which brings us to our main event, Farmer Burns. He was supposed to face Ray Stevens in this bout, but Stevens was also a recipient of the trade lottery, and he lost his title shot because he got traded to the Eastern Circuit. He was randomly selected, so Arn Anderson is going to fill in. Gene Anderson will be in his corner. Arn Anderson I consider him kind of like the Dale Earnhardt of wrestling back in the 80s and 90s. Wasn't afraid to intimidate, and Dale Earnhardt was, of course, known for winning the big one in Daytona in 1998. Arn Anderson never won a major world championship, but his career was cut short due to a neck problem before he could probably win a world title. So this will be one fall, 60 minutes in time, and Farmer Burns will get the advantage of being a champ. He has now been champ. Let's see, this is week 31. He has now been champion. This is his 57th week, which is the longest reign in GSW history. And you'll see the move suggestions here, which I am putting in for Arn. Gene Anderson in his corner, which means the chances of some chicanery and shenanigans here might be a little up. And let me just double check that I have it for a 60-minute time limit. This is one of two defenses Farmer Burns has this week. He has George Kidd in the Northern Division in a babyface match. George Kidd, one of the greats out of Scotland in the lower weight classes, about 150 pounds or so. The bell rings and this match underway from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Arn Anderson tries to sneak into the ring very quickly, but isn't able to stage a pre-match attack. And a neck hold by Arn Anderson is the first move of the day, and that's a pickup of a loss of 5 stamina points by Burns. You start at 0 and you work your way down from 0. There are a few instances where you gain stamina points, but most of the way you're losing, and you just have to lose less than your opponent. Auto control loss. Anderson underestimates Farmer Burns' concentration level and loses control. Burns goes for a quick pin, but Arn Anderson prepared for it. We move to the next hold, and that is a spinning toe hold by Arn Anderson, but Burns, you're not going to get him to submit easy with that 3-2-0 submission rating, so which is very, very good. Which means you're not going to get him too many times. A stomp to the shoulder of Farmer Burns. Oh, that's kind of smart. And Burns loses 5 more. Legal turnbuckle move by Anderson. Another 5-point loss for Burns. Anderson pitching a clean sheet so far, but I'm sure that will change before the match is over. Eye gouge by Double A. And that's another 4 points. So the move's not really all that effective. Just a handful of points here and a handful of points there. And Anderson punches away outside the ring on Burns. Burns like, what are you doing with me outside the ring? Back in his day, all the action was in the ring. Legal arm hold by Burns, and that's the first move we were looking for out of him, and that reduces Arn by 7. Front chancery. Farmer Burns doesn't have a big move repertoire, but what he does well, and that's another 7-point loss. Knee drop to the chest of Anderson, another 5 points gone. Anderson with a pin attempt, and I'll do the pin attempt anyway. It's going to be 0 because in order for the pin to be scored, that third number that I have the pointer on has to be greater than 0, and you're not going to get Farmer Burns this early. No pin. Burns goes into the rope and gets hit with a double thrust to the throat. Ooh. He'll need an ear, nose, and throat doctor after this, and Burns loses 6 points. Arn doing pretty well so far, but this bout just very young with a 60-minute time limit, and Arn has to get a pin or a submission to pull out the unthinkable and be the world heavyweight champion. If he is, he gets George Kidd instead of Farmer Burns in the North region. Burns turns the tables and makes an expert counter to avoid a pinhold by Anderson. Legal whip to the ropes, and Anderson delivers a clothesline, and he has been whips Anderson. It was Barnes that whipped Anderson to the rope and gave him a clothesline a la Hulk Hogan, and that's a 5-point loss for Arn. Drop toe hold puts Anderson down to the mat for an 8-point loss. The match almost dead even now. Claw hold to immobilize Anderson, and there is a submission attempt here, and you're not going to get Double A that early. With just that one submission hold. Indian Deathlock by Burns, and I'm going to cancel out of that because that would not have scored. There's no way if somebody has a third pin rating or submission rating of 0 could the action be scored. And forearm by Anderson, that's not going to count as a pin attempt because the third number is 0. Legal throat chop by Arn. And Burns is reeling, and that's 5 points lost. So right now it's 55 for Burns lost and 48 for Anderson. Neither man cut. Referee tells both men to break cleanly, which both wrestlers do. Heated words exchanged, but the crowd was applauding, so you couldn't really hear the obscenities. Each wrestler tries to bait one another into engaging, but neither one willing to do so. Maybe Anderson's looking at Burns and saying, "You want to work?" Anderson ponders his next move just a little too long, crowd getting a little impatient, and Burns gains control. Burns concerned with the referee and loses control back to Arn. So we've had a couple of minutes now where nothing has happened. A ringside legend or icon comes to ringside during the match. Burns leaves the ring, challenges the icon to a legend to a future match. Maybe that's Terry Funk, who's been a wild man on this card, getting DQ'd in one match and trying to beat up Lou Fez in another. Outside the ring action, counter move, suplex on the floor. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. And Arn Anderson now trailing in points. That's a 19-point loss as his back hits that mat hard, but underneath the mat's a very hard floor. And a headlock by Burns. That's 7 points lost. And here's a pin chance. Not much of one. A 4 and 40 chance inside cradle. Nothing there. 11:14 into the bell. Burns tries a wrist lock, and both men just kind of, I wouldn't say impatient, but just kind of very cautious, like an old woman going to a grocery store, and both backing away. Gene Anderson has gotten involved in the match. He tried to enter the ring, but quickly stops when the fans start yelling, "Hey, ref!" Illegal punches by Anderson, and the referee was shielding from seeing him, and that's a 6-point loss for Burns. Still almost a dead even match. A suplex by Arn Anderson. This is the 20th anniversary month of Gordon Soley's passing, so I thought I would mention that. The suplex, 10 points. Farmer Burns, submission attempt on him, and you're not going to get him. You're not going to get him this early in the match. Collar and elbow hookup results in neither wrestler gaining any advantage. Wrestlers release the hold. Recording this on July 3rd, 2020, by the way. Legal arm hold on Burns by Anderson, and that's 5 more points lost. And again, this match almost dead even in terms of stamina loss, and now Anderson has retaken the lead at minus 79 to minus 80. Pin hold by Anderson, but Burns outsmarts his opponent. Legal arm hold by Burns. A lot of technical wrestling in this. Standing on bar, and that's a loss for Anderson on 7 points. I think the longest bout we've had with Farmer Burns world title matches has been in the neighborhood of 25 minutes, and this has might go longer than that. Strategy card used and countered by Arn Anderson. If you're playing the board game, you could use strategy moves. I use Vogue on both of the wrestlers, so I could just focus on calling the match. A spinning toe hold by Farmer Burns, and this could be it. And Gene Anderson has interfered in the match, and that's going to be a DQ. And Farmer Burns has successfully defended his World Heavyweight title. 16 minutes and 38 seconds in, this match is over. Anderson held his own against the legendary Farmer Burns, but could not get the job done. So Farmer Burns is going to go on and face George Kidd in another world title defense in the Northern Circuit. And we will not be seeing him next week because the only world championship on the line next week will be the world tag team titles out of the West Circuit, as Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA will take on a top heel team in the West. See if anything happened here after the match? No. So this has been Big Paulie coming to you, and we will catch you again soon. Bye-bye for now, everybody.